Let me give you the clearest possible definition. An Azure region is a specific geographic location in the world, like a city or country, where Microsoft has built and operates a cluster of data centers. When you create any resource in Azure, a virtual machine, a database, a storage account, you must choose a region. That resource will physically live in Microsoft's data centers in that location. It runs there, its data is stored there, and it stays there unless you explicitly move it or replicate it. Each region is made up of at least 2 data centers that are physically close to each other, connected by dedicated, low-latency private fiber that Microsoft owns. This private connection means data moving between data centers inside a region is fast and does not touch the public internet. Some well-known regions are East US, which covers Virginia. West Europe covers the Netherlands. Southeast Asia covers Singapore. You will be choosing from this list every time you deploy anything. Azure has more than 60 regions worldwide, making it the cloud provider with the broadest geographic coverage. This matters more than you might think at first. Cover every major continent. North America has multiple regions across the United States and Canada. Europe has regions in Netherlands, UK, France, Germany, Sweden, and more. Asia Pacific covers Singapore, Australia, Japan, Korea, and India. There are regions in South America, Middle East, and Africa too. Beyond the standard commercial regions, Microsoft operates sovereign clouds. Azure Government is a physically separate cloud for U.S. federal agencies and contractors, with stricter compliance controls. Azure China is operated by 21 ViaNet inside China due to local regulations, and it is completely separate from global Azure. Why does regional breadth matter for developers? If your users are in a specific country, deploy close to them for lower latency. And if you operate in a regulated industry, healthcare in Germany, financial services in the UK, Azure almost certainly has a region in the right jurisdiction with the right compliance certifications. This is one of the most important infrastructure concepts in all of cloud computing, and understanding it changes how you design applications. Within a single Azure region, there are typically 3 availability zones. Each zone is a physically separate building or group of buildings with its own independent power supply, its own cooling systems, and its own network connections. A fire in one zone, a flood, a power grid failure, none of these affect the other zones. But here is the key engineering detail: these physically separate buildings in the same region are connected by Microsoft's private fiber with less than 2 milliseconds of latency between them. That is fast enough to replicate data synchronously, meaning a write to Zone 1 is confirmed only after it is also written to Zone 2 and Zone 3. From your application's perspective, the replication is invisible. Think of it this way. A region is like a city. Availability zones are like different neighborhoods in that city. If one neighborhood loses power, the others are unaffected, but they are still close enough to share resources instantly. Let me show you what zone redundancy looks like in practice, because this is what separates a resilient production architecture from a fragile one. Imagine you deploy your web application on a virtual machine in Zone 1 of East US. The SLA for a single VM is 99.9%, which sounds good, but that is roughly 8 hours of potential downtime per year. And if the data center in Zone 1 has a fire or power failure, your application is down completely. Now imagine you deploy 3 VMs, 1 in each zone behind an Azure load balancer. The load balancer distributes traffic across all 3. If Zone 1 goes completely offline, the load balancer automatically routes all traffic to Zone 2 and Zone 3. Your users experience no downtime or a brief blip. Your SLA jumps to 99.99%, about 52 minutes of potential downtime per year. Many Azure services support zone redundancy natively. Azure SQL Database, Azure Blob Storage, Azure Kubernetes Service, and others can be configured to spread replicas across zones automatically. You opt in when you create the resource. Beyond availability zones within a single region, Azure has a concept called region pairs. Every Azure region is permanently paired with one other region in the same geography. For example, East US is paired with West US. North Europe in Ireland is paired with West Europe in the Netherlands. UK South is paired with UK West. These pairs are chosen carefully. They are hundreds of miles apart, so a natural disaster, a regional power grid failure, or a major network outage affecting one region is very unlikely to affect its pair at the same time. Region pairs give you two things. First, Azure's platform update policy guarantees that paired regions are never updated simultaneously. When Microsoft rolls out a major platform change, it goes to one region in the pair first. If something goes wrong, the paired region is unaffected. Second, some Azure services use region pairs automatically. Geo-redundant storage, or GRS, automatically replicates your data to the paired region. Azure SQL Database georeplication defaults to the pair. For disaster recovery planning, region pairs are your natural secondary target. Choosing the right region sounds simple, but there are 4 factors you should check every time you deploy a new application or service. First and most obvious, deploy close to your users. If your users are in Western Europe, deploy in West Europe or UK South. Faster round trips means a more responsive application. This matters most for user-facing APIs and databases. Second, and this catches people off guard, check compliance requirements before anything else. If you handle medical data in Germany, some regulations require that data stays within Germany. Azure Germany North and Germany West Central are available for exactly this. Do not assume all regions are legally equivalent for your use case. Third, not every Azure service is available in every region. Newer or specialized services launch in major regions first and expand over time. Before architecting a solution around a specific service, check the Azure Products by Region page to confirm availability in your target region. Fourth, choose your disaster recovery region on day 1. Pick a region pair or a secondary region close to your primary. Retrofitting DR into an architecture later is much harder than planning for it upfront. We introduced resource groups in topic 2. Now let me go deeper on best practices, because the way you organize resource groups determines how easy or painful Azure becomes to manage at scale. The biggest mistake beginners make is grouping by resource type. They create one resource group for all virtual machines, one for all databases, one for all storage accounts. This seems logical, but it is terrible in practice. When you want to delete a project, you have to hunt across multiple groups to find everything related to it. The correct approach is to group by project and environment together. So if you are building a shopping app, create 3 resource groups: Shop App Dev, Shop App Staging, and Shop App Prod. Everything that belongs to the development environment of the shopping app lives in Shop App Dev. The VM, the database, the storage account, the networking, all of it. When your development sprint is over and you want to tear down the environment entirely, you delete the resource group. One action removes everything cleanly. No orphaned resources, no forgotten databases quietly billing you. And because access control can be applied at the resource group level, you can give your developers full contributor access to Shop App Dev and zero access to Shop App Prod. Naming conventions sound boring until you have 200 resources across a dozen projects and cannot tell what anything is. Invest 5 minutes in a naming standard now and it pays back repeatedly. The format I recommend is project name, then component, then environment, then region. So your production API for a shopping app in East US becomes Shop API Prodistas. Your development database in West Europe becomes ShopDB Dev West U. Always use lowercase letters and hyphens. No spaces, no underscores, no camel case. The reason is that some Azure services like storage accounts do not allow hyphens, but most do. Some services have character limits. Storage account names are limited to 24 characters. DNS names for Azure services must be globally unique. So keep names short but descriptive. Abbreviations are fine. Use DB for database, VM for virtual machine, KV for key vault, ST for storage. What matters most is consistency. A naming convention only works if everyone on the team follows it the same way. Document it in your project README and enforce it through code review. Occasionally you will need to move resources after they have been created. Let me explain what is straightforward and what is not. Moving a resource between resource groups in the same region is generally simple. In the portal, open the resource, click Move at the top, and choose Move to another resource group. Most resources support this. A few do not, like Azure Active Directory resources and some networking components. The Azure documentation lists all exceptions. During the move, the resource remains accessible. There is usually no downtime. Moving a resource to a different region is a different story entirely. Most Azure resources cannot be migrated to a new region directly, they must be redeployed. You recreate the resource in the target region, copy the data across, update your DNS or connection strings, and decommission the original. For virtual machines and some databases, Azure provides a tool called Azure Resource Mover that automates parts of this process. The lesson here: choose your region carefully upfront. Region changes are expensive in terms of time and risk. It is not a decision you want to revisit later in a production system. Let me bring it all together with a quick summary. A region is where your resources physically live. Choose based on user proximity, compliance requirements, and service availability. Know your region pair from day one for disaster recovery planning. Availability zones are your first line of defense against data center failures. Deploying across 3 zones in a region takes your SLA from 99.9 to 99.99%. For any production workload, zone redundancy should be the default, not the exception. Region pairs give you geographic separation for true regional disaster scenarios and ensure Azure platform updates never hit both regions simultaneously. Resource groups are how you organize and manage everything. Group by project and environment. Name them consistently. Use them as the boundary for access control and lifecycle management. In topic 4 we go deeper on Azure subscriptions and cost management. We will look at how subscriptions work as billing and access boundaries, how to structure them for team or enterprise use, and how to use Azure cost management tools to genuinely control your cloud spend. See you in the next video.